as a child to not quit, to take more risks, to go for it, to step. They did the opposite of what an average parent was doing. At 10 years old, his mom took him about 50 miles from home with his bicycle and a sack lunch and told him to find his way home as a lesson. Today, that would be called child abuse. Today, back then, it was teaching him to be resilient, to go for it. And he made it, the first day he made it to, I think, his cousin or his aunt's house and slept the night. And the second day he made it all the way home. And he loves his mom today. She loves him. She lives on his private island with him today. He took risk after risk. He tried to be the first man to fly several times a hot air balloon around the world through the jet stream. It was encapsulated in an oxygen-filled capsule attached to a hot air balloon, and they pulled it up into jet streams and it would be dragged along. And they were hooked to communications. They would tell them where the next jet stream was, when to drop out, when to pop up, and they were trying to sell all around the world doing this. He almost died several times doing it. Does this guy like challenge or what? He almost lost many businesses and had to start over. He screwed up many times, but in every time he got bigger through facing the challenge, through taking the risk. And today, he can call any world leader he wants and get him on the phone. He can do all these amazing things because he got used to all that tension. He kept expanding his reality every year, a little bit more tension. What else can I learn to handle? What else can I learn to handle? He's flying the first airline that flies into space, right? Working on that. He's really pushing the boundaries. How much tension can the guy handle? But the average person has got their cubicle, their little job, and they're saying, but I don't want to take too much risk. I might lose it all. I might screw it up. And that fear of risk is a real problem. And that's the curse of the middle class. My mentor used to say that somebody who's lost everything and gone broke and lives on the street has a better chance of being a millionaire than somebody who's in the middle class. I don't know if that's true or not, but I can see his point. Because once you're no longer afraid of losing everything, you can do what you need to do to get the job done. What do I need to do to get to the next level? What do I need to do to get to the next level? If you can climb back out of it. How many millionaires ended up living on the street? How many millionaires went broke? Because they were losing that fear or that need for security. And when they let it all go, they were like, screw it, let's go. And they stopped focusing on what could go wrong and they started focusing on what they were going to create. Because they were out of that curse of the middle class at that point. So we let fear control us. We let fear make our decisions more than our instincts, more than our gut brain, more than who we really are deep down inside. We don't take the risks we're supposed to take as men, and that's why we don't feel alive anymore. That's why our masculine doesn't grow. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to make mistakes. That's part of life. You just get back up and you do it again. It's okay to step into more tension and learn to handle it. That's part of life. You just get back up and you do it again. And as you get calmer and more relaxed in the tension, as you start to calm down and relax into your body with the tension, not up here freaking out, but really calm and relaxed, you're going to see so many more opportunities for success. So many more opportunities to step out there and make something happen. So many different ways of pushing that tension and getting results that you just didn't see before. You see, the brain processes at an insane rate. I've heard all kinds of numbers. The last number I heard was 4 to 10 million bits of data per second. Before that, it was 2 million to about 3 million bits of data per second, actually. And I think that's actually the reason it's increasing is because there's more information coming at us per day from the internet, from cell phones, all this type of stuff. But we only really perceive consciously 7 plus or minus 2. So if you're only really receiving 7 plus or minus 2, but you've got millions coming at you per second, what's 7 plus or minus 2? Let's just say 7, let's throw off the plus or minus. What 7 bits of data are you actually receiving? The 7 that most match your reality of how you believe life is supposed to work. If you believe life is hard, do you think out of millions of bits of data per second, you can find proof that life is hard? If you believe life is easy, do you believe you can find 7 bits of data that prove life is easy? If you believe women like you, do you think you can find proof of that? If you believe women don't like you, do you think you can find proof of that? We can prove just about anything if we look for it, because what we focus on expands, reticular activating system of the brain. If we're focused on an idea long enough, we'll start to see it everywhere. We start to pick up on it. We start to realize it. we'll start to create filters that say, damn it, that's true, and we'll fight for it till the day we die. And we'll die believing that. I've changed enough beliefs in my life and in other people's lives to realize that seeing is not believing. Believing is seeing. Once you believe something enough, you will see it, whether it serves you or does not serve you. And you will go to work to bring that into your life. Now, I'm going to go back to this tension thing for a minute. Tension serves us as men. It grows us. We need challenge to feel alive. We need challenge to be free. But how many people have heard, get all the tension out of your life? Get all the stress out of your life, another way to say it. Stress is bad for you. Don't have stress. Get rid of the stress. Who's heard that? Raise your hand for me. Okay? You hear it a lot, don't you? There's a great talk by a woman named Kelly McGonigal. It's a TED Talk. It's probably about, I think it's 17 minutes long. It's called How to Make Stress Your Friend. One of my favorite TED Talks. And she's a health psychologist, and she said for years she'd been telling everybody, get all the stress out of your life. It's bad for you. And then she says in this TED Talk, she's been saying it all wrong. They did a study of 30,000 people over 8 years. They asked all the people, do you have a little stress, medium stress, or a lot of stress in your life? And then they asked them, do you believe stress is good for you or bad for you? And at the end of the 8 years, 2 groups stood out. The group that had a lot of stress and said stress was bad for them, and the group that had a lot of stress and said stress was good for them. The one that had a lot of stress and said stress was bad for them had the most deaths, the most illnesses, most problems, most challenges out of all the groups. The group that had a lot of stress but said stress was good for them had the most successes, the biggest change, the best health, the most growth in their businesses out of all the groups. So what's the realization there? The stress wasn't the problem, is it? It's the belief that stress is bad for you that was the problem. The ones who believed stress was good for them grew the most out of every group that had the most stress. The stress catapulted them up to success, i.e. tension. The ones that believed stress was bad for them had the most problems. They couldn't lift the stress. So imagine you're in the gym lifting weights. How do you build weights? It's with stress, right? You stress the muscles. They're not going to grow just standing there doing nothing. We need tension to grow. We need tension to stay alive. I mean, you got to have gravity or we'll atrophy and die. So there's a certain amount of tension that's always applied that keeps everything moving. And imagine you're in there lifting weights, and the whole time you're lifting and pushing, you're thinking, this stuff is bad for me. I need to stop. It's going to hurt me. It's going to damage me. That's the constant thought in your brain every time. How long do you injure yourself? Won't be long, will it? Now imagine that you're doing like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and every time you lift the weight, you're imagining it growing your muscles, feeling good. You love it. You love the pressure, and you enjoy the whole process, even the pain of it. That the pain even becomes fun. What's going to happen? Well, maybe you become one of the most famous bodybuilders in the world, and then go on to make all kinds of movies and do all kinds of crazy things, because Arnold Schwarzenegger loved stress and tension. He talked about it in his own way. And that's what I'm talking about. We need stress. Everything needs stress to grow. If you take a seed and you plant it in the ground, it has to break out of the shell that's the seed, dig roots down first through the dirt, and then it starts to climb upwards, and it can bust through rocks. And then it eventually breaks through the surface and grows into a full tree through the seasons, through winter, through wind, through rain, through all this different stuff to become a full-grown tree. That's a process that's done under stress that makes it what it is. Yet get all the stress out of your life. Say that to somebody like Richard Branson. Look at anybody that you admire. Who's somebody you admire that's really self-made, really successful? Just say somebody, anybody.
I mean, I'm a fan of Arnold, but you already.
Yeah, well, did he have a lot of stress in his life?
I mean, he just worked his ass off. He always kind of viewed whatever he wanted to do. He said, like, no matter what I want to do, I know, no matter what, all I have to do is do enough reps, read enough lines, read enough scripts, look at enough properties to be successful. It's just a matter of...
And did he avoid tension in that process?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
did like weed though.
What's
Huh?
that?
He did like weed.
He did like
He
weed.
does like weed.
Does he? I don't know.
Arnold?
Yeah.
You were talking about Arnold, right?
Yeah.
Remember in Stay Hungry, he's like, they got him smoking joints and stuff?
I think because it made me eat more, right?
Oh, I think everybody needs, I don't think that's contradicts it, right? At some point you gotta chill too.
Yeah. Well,
He definitely did a lot of
it's
drugs.
it actually comes down to a combination of feeding yourself, like whether that's food or the brain, resting yourself and stressing yourself, and doing that in a healthy cycle. If it's 100% stress, you're not going to grow. If it's 100% rest, you're not going to grow. What people miss is the tension part. They're always saying tension's bad, avoid the tension. That's the piece that most people miss. Or the other side to it, I haven't discussed yet, is they put their head down and charge into the tension without feeling it, without being one with it, without being in tune with it. And in that, the tension beats them back. And you have to have this nice balance.
He talks about he plays an hour of chess every day to decompress.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of like fun, like carefree.
That's his meditative moment, settling down. So name somebody else. Anybody else that's successful?
Dan Pena.
Dan Pena. Yeah, there you go.
Tom Brady,
Tom Brady. So these guys all step into tension, don't they?
Kobe.
Dan Pena, he screams and yells and cusses, but he loves every minute of it. When you see him doing it, he's like smiling and laughing the whole time he's doing it. And he yells at his students, "Get the fuck up, you lazy fucking ass. Get to fucking work. Don't be so lazy." But then he'll do it to himself. He gets in the mirror and he goes, "When I'm being lazy, I get in the mirror and I go, 'You're a lazy ass.'" And you can see him laughing the whole time he's yelling. He's not even angry, really. He's creating this fake anger, and everybody ends up loving him. Dan Pena. He's a millionaire, maybe a billionaire. I don't know. So I've heard him say he owns a castle, lives in Scotland, but he was born in the United States, not California. Super successful guy, and he loves to just coach other people. And when you coach with him, you come to his castle and you stay there for a week, and you wear a suit, and you're required to come to dinner in a suit every day, and you're required to, and it's an experience. And he's a loudmouth, foul, completely non-PC. He pisses everybody off, and laughs doing it the whole way down the street. Doesn't care. Just laughs. And he's successful as hell. He loves the stress and the tension, And what has he got to be 80 something now, right?
He's old. I don't know.
Yeah, he's up there.
Another good example is, I think it's either George Foreman or Muhammad Ali. Someone asked him, they said, how many sit-ups do you do? Or how many reps do you do? He said, I don't know. He's like, well, don't you count? He says, I only start counting once it starts hurting.
Yeah, that's a good, I think that was, who was that? I think it was Muhammad Ali. I'm not sure though. I've heard that before. But these are examples that the middle class is really valuing that comfort and security. They're not going out there and pushing it. Now, we talked about a lot of really successful people, right? What about the other end? What's somebody that's avoiding tension at all costs? Did you want to say? Anybody? What's somebody avoiding tension at all costs?
Homeless people.
Homeless people, yeah. Homeless people, yeah. Well, think about it. They don't want to go out on average. A lot of them end up in that position because they're avoiding their problems. They're avoiding their challenges. They're saying, I'm not going to go get a job. If they can get a job, maybe they do stuff to get fired. I'm not saying that's every case. Some cases, they stress over everything so much they can't keep a job because they're hurting so much inside. Maybe they make themselves sick. Maybe they're scared to death and they cause themselves, maybe their emotional state. But all of that causes them to avoid more and more and more. The more they become reactive to the tension in their life versus proactive to the tension, the smaller their life becomes, the harder their life becomes. And they don't have easy lives, do they? I mean, imagine there's this old guy that sleeps under the freeway overpass over here, and all he does is sleep under it all day. People must bring him food, but he sleeps on cement all day long, and I don't get it, and it sucks. But that's the life that a lot of people choose because they don't want to. I see homeless people that are perfectly healthy too that don't want to go out and go for it. There are some that have mental disorders, but in any case, they're being reactive to the tension. And what I mean by reactive to the tension is, here's the tension. Does the tension scare me? Do I try to run from it? Or do I step into it because I have to try to get it done as fast as possible? Like, oh my God, let me deal with the tension quick and get it done so I don't have to deal with it anymore, because you're scared of it? Or do I become proactive with the tension, step into it, and say, let me feel this tension. Let me see if I can actually even enjoy it a little bit. Let me see if I can learn from it. Let me not make it my enemy, let me make it my friend. And in that tension starts to teach you, it starts to feed you. You get used to it, and then you want more. And then a little bit more. Every day, if you get 1% better at dealing with the tension in your life, from the little to the big, from the doing the dishes all the way up to dealing with a car wreck on the street, or somebody yelling at you without losing control, you become that much better exponentially at dealing with tension in your life. And the proactive people are the ones that get all the rewards from the tension. The reactive people to the tension, if you're just trying to rush through it, get it done because you have to, not because you want to, not because you choose it, they're the ones that get beat down by it. They're the ones that end up sick with problems like I used to be. That's exactly who I used to be and was taught to be growing up. That's why I had so many problems. And it was that reactive, proactive piece that really changed my life. And so it's that fear of tension that really fucks us up. When you start to learn to love the tension, or you even love the fear, things start to change. You start to expand. Tension is a gift, guys. You're never going to get away from it. Matter of fact, the more you run from it, the more it's going to chase you. If you go to work and you don't want to deal with the tension of all the assignments you have all day at work, all week at work, at the end of the week, what are you going to have? A bunch of undone assignments that are all piled up? How's that going to feel? You feel the tension getting bigger now? And if you don't deal with that, how long before you lose your job? Then you got the tension of that. How does that feel? Now you don't have a job. No paycheck coming in. How does that feel? You see my point? If you go start a business, then you don't go out and do sales because you don't want to deal with the tension of calling people, talking to people. How long before that business is no longer a business? Well, is it ever really a business till you make your first sale? That was one of my mentors taught me that. You don't have a business till you make your first sale. You're just pretending till then.